Kencang itu membahayakan sampai rumah saya itu jebol.
14 kelurahan di 3 kecamatan di kota Pekalongan terendam banjir rob akibat naiknya gelombang tinggi laut Jawa.
Sementara itu, sejumlah ruas jalan di pusat kota Semarang juga terendam banjir dengan ketinggian mencapai 50 cm akibat hujan deras sejak Jumat malam.
Kawasan Pluit Penjaringan Jakarta Utara, daerah ini
Kawasan
selalu
yang terletak di
terimbas
ujung
pasang
barat
laut.
pesisir
Banjir rob
Jakarta
sering terjadi
ini
meskipun tidak ada
hampir
hujan.
setiap hari tergenang karena luapan air laut, alias banjir rob.
What happens? What happens in Indonesia if the projections are correct that in the next 10 years they may have to move their capital because there's going to be underwater?
Rob di pesisir pantai utara Jawa umumnya terjadi pada karakteristik wilayah dan penyebab yang sama, yang merupakan daerah potensial dan tempat tumbuhnya pusat-pusat perkotaan di pantai utara Jawa, seperti Jakarta, Pekalongan, Semarang, Surabaya, dan lain-lain. Dataran aluvial dekat pantai inilah yang mengalami penurunan muka tanah atau land subsidence dengan laju yang ekstrim.
Makom itu tenggelam, terus keluarga yang mempunyai kerabat meninggal akhirnya dibatur dengan padas. Nah, setelah itu setahun 2 tahun tenggelam lagi, terus dibelikan lagi.
Rekosone ono tinggal ya Allah. Nambahi dhisik. Jadi long gunane wong urip, makne urip aja kemati, aja sombong.
Diketahui bahwa luas erosi yang terjadi di Kecamatan Sayung mencapai 2.116 hektar. Sedangkan sedimentasi terjadi hanya 1,44 hektar.
Ya itu kan parah tuh Mas, rumah yang kecil itu. Jadi kan lunga, kira-kira kowe lunga para kowe sampean lunga para kawan, pergi para kawan minggu. Walah, sampai dimanapun saya tetap di desa saya sini ya, seperti itu kok.
Hasil pengukuran data pasang surut selama 20 tahun menunjukkan bahwa kenaikan muka laut di wilayah sekitar Semarang dan Demak itu mencapai laju 7,74 mm per tahun. Land subsidence di sekitar Semarang dan Demak itu terjadi pada laju antara 5-20 cm per tahun.
Warga sini itu kalau punya uang dibuat nguruk rumah yang tenggelam. Ada pecah gelombang ini, desa saya selamat. Terus akhirnya bisa menghasilkan menjadi sedimen menimbul, bisa ditanami dengan mangrove. Akhirnya bisa dangkal lagi, terus saya tenang hidup di sini. Coba kalau tidak ada lampu atau pemecah gelombang, desa ini sudah hancur.
Sabuk pantai yang merupakan kombinasi seawall dan breakwater ini cukup berhasil. Pembangunan sabuk pantai berhasil dan replanting mangrove tumbuh dengan baik. Pemukiman yang berada di belakang bangunan pantai ini sudah mulai terlindung. Dermaga nelayan dapat dipulihkan kembali. Beberapa tambak yang berada di sekitar bangunan pantai ini difungsikan kembali. Peneliti internasional dan pendanaan asing seperti Wetland International, Boston University, South Brittany, Prancis, Cerema, Prancis, dan OISCA, Jepang, dan lain-lain sudah banyak berperan dalam membantu penanganan melalui riset dan proyek yang terkait dengan land subsidence. Pusat unggulan IPTEK, Pusat Kajian Mitigasi Bencana dan Rehabilitasi Pesisir, Universitas Diponegoro sudah melakukan berbagai upaya. Salah satunya adalah pembuatan kalender ROP. Kalender ROP ini merupakan adopsi dari simulasi data PASUD untuk melakukan prediksi selama 1 tahun. Untuk bisa mengetahui kapan waktu terjadinya ROP, kemudian mereka bisa melakukan berbagai persiapan untuk mengatasi ROP tersebut.
Baik, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo, apakah suara saya terdengar?
Terdengar, Bu Noh.
Baik, terima kasih. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro, Dr. Budiono, SKM MKes, the Honorable Head of Master Program of Health Promotions, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro, Dr. Andes Syamsuhuda Budi Mustafa, MKes, the Honorable Speaker for today's visiting Professor Mayumi Kako, RN, PhD from Hiroshima University, Japan, and to all of today's participants. My name is Novia Handayani, and I will be your host today. Welcome to the Visiting Professor Designing Health Education Campaigns on Disaster Preparedness, brought to you by Master of Health Promotion, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. Praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has bestowed taufiq, mercy, guidance, and inayah to us, so that on this occasion we can meet in a good condition, physically and mentally healthy. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the session, let us recite Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And to start our today's agenda, let us all pray according to our respective beliefs. Pray begins. Pray ends. Thank you. Gentlemen, the first agenda is the opening speech from the head of Master of Health Promotion, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. To Dr. Andes Syamsuhuda Budi Mustafa, MKes, the time is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Novia. Is it clear here? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I wish you good morning and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Esteemed faculty, Dean of Faculty of Public Health, Mr. Budiono, dear student and honored guests, good morning and welcome to this special event that brings together our academic community and the broader public for an important discussion on disaster preparedness. Today, we are immensely pleased to host Professor Mayumi Kato from the Hiroshima University, who will share her invaluable expertise on designing health education campaign focused on disaster preparedness. As far as we know, Japanese nation that has faced numerous natural disasters throughout its history, including earthquakes, tsunamis, and typhoons. The resilience and strength demonstrated by Japanese people in the face of such challenges provide us with a wealth of knowledge and experience. As an academic institution, it is our responsibility to learn from this experience and apply them to our own context. Professor Kato has dedicated her career to research and practice in the field of public health, particularly in the realm of disaster preparedness and response. Her insight will not only broaden our understanding, but also inspire us to consider innovative approach to health education campaigns. As we gather today, I encourage all of you to engage with her ideas, ask questions, and reflect on how we can improve our own strategies in disaster preparedness. This collaboration between our institution and Hiroshima University is a testament to the power of shared knowledge. Through these actions, we aim to strengthen our capacity to educate communities, enhance public awareness, and ultimately save lives in times of crisis. I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Mayumi Kato for joining us here today, and to everyone present for your participation. Your presence signifies commitment to learning and contributing to the safer, more preparedness society. I hope as we listen to Professor Kato's presentation, we will all take away important lesson and can be applied in our own communities. Let us work together to foster resilience and preparedness, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Thank you. And without further ado, I'd like to invite Professor Mayumi Kato. Good morning and welcome to our stage. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Syamsul Huda, for the opening speech. The next agenda is the opening speech from the Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. Do we have the dean today? Okay. Okay. So the next agenda is to take picture together. So everyone here, please kindly open your camera so we can take our picture together. Maybe I will give you 10 seconds to open your camera and maybe to prepare your jilbab or your hair. Okay, so maybe I will remove my spotlight. All right, everyone, please open up your camera. All right. I will count to 3 for the formal pose. 1, 2, 3. Okay. We have Pak Priyadi here. Would you please to say our jargon? Pak Priyadi, time is yours. Oh.
Halo?
Ya.
Ya.
Dengar, Pak.
Oke, Bu Novia, health promotion.
Change the world. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Priyadi, for the jargon. All right. So thank you everyone for opening your camera and also for speaking up our jargon. Health promotion change the world. Okay. To our online participants, please kindly please kindly make sure that your microphone is off unless the committee gives you permission to turn it on. Should you have any questions for our speakers, please type it in the chat feature and don't forget to write down your name and also your institution as well. We will share the present link at the discussion session. Now I would like to read our speaker's CV briefly. Her name is Mayumi Kako, RN, PhD. She is from the Hiroshima University, Japan. She had nursing foundation education and some clinical work experience in Japan. She had studied from undergraduate bridging course to be a registered nurse in Australia to doctoral course. She has been involved in disaster nursing and health through her other works experience, such as working as a consultant in WHO Kobe Center and community voluntary work as a nurse. She believes that it is more important to communicate each other from non-disaster period with various sectors to create the resilient community. Her working model keyword is working and collaborating global, combination of local and global. Amazing. She's right now an associate professor in Hiroshima University in Division of Nursing Sciences, International Disaster Nursing, and Graduate School of Biomedical and Health Sciences. Her education, she had her Diploma of Nursing in Kobe City College of Nursing, Japan. In 2001, she had her Master of Nursing in Flinders University, Australia, and she had her doctoral in 2008. Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing from Flinders University, Australia. She has been working in many field work. Amazing. Okay, so without further ado, please welcome to Dr. Mayumi Kako. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your very nice introduction. I much appreciate. And also, thank you so much for invitation for this opportunity. It's really great to Dr. Zaro inviting myself through the, we have a student over here. So also, Hiroshima University we have a lot of Indonesian students, actually the largest student we are accommodating, and it's great to see them to go back to Indonesia. They, involving to educate another student and the fellows, and still keep working together. So I really appreciate the opportunity and in the space of the disaster risk reduction. So can I share the slide?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I share the slide. So I hope you can you see the presentation or? I hope you can see the slide.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I can see it.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I know this course is about health promotion. So, I'd like to talk about the, more what is a disaster, and I think doing a health promotion more preventionally, as well as different phase we can do was different health promotion. So first half, a bit more than I think I'm going to talk about more definition of disaster, as well as the disaster management, health risk management. We use a lot of phase. So you may already know some of the the definition and how the phase is counted. But I think it's nice to go through, to stand on the same, I guess, level to talk about what is a health promotion we can do to mitigate or, respond and also that rehabilitate. So today's agenda, as I said, we talk about the disaster cycle, and also there's a nice formula we can explain how disaster risk reduction can be developed. So I explained the formula, And my background is a nurse, so I can describe more role of nurses in a disaster situation. But I think that the nursing perspectives, a lot of commonality in the public health, involvement to do more health promotion in the population based. So I think a lot of commonality we can talk about. And also, I little bit touched on the community response by volunteers. We have some more. They do, they work for the all phase in the prevention, mitigation, respond to recovery. So we have a specific volunteers. So I want to introduce their volunteer-based, role. And then we make a little bit summary towards the end. Okay. So a little bit about myself. I think already that nicely introduced. So how I became to be involved in disaster nursing is I think experience in 1995. So I think a lot of I know that you people who are listening to this lecture, I think exposed to the more risks, so maybe experienced about the experienced in the disasters. In Indonesia, of course, volcanoes are there, and the earthquake, and the tsunamis, and the landslide. It's really, that exposed the hazard in the daily life. So it's really Japan and Indonesia has a common experience. So my first experience, I guess, was earthquake. So I was a new graduate nurse. So it's quite our hospital was okay, but it's more backup hospital. So my school classmate was quite severely working the damaged hospital. So I hear a lot of stories. So that's how I started, and also I did a volunteer community like a visiting nurse to visit the what do you call that, the temporary housing to see people who are evacuated. So those that maintaining or providing continuing care or that attention to the affected people is quite important. And then I think that's how I started. And after that, I finished a PhD. I think more seriously involved in that as a part of research. So we have a lot of international collaboration. We do online calls, as well as last year we are fortunate to have some project with Turkey. So after the disaster, we visited the temporary housing to see the how they are recovering. So that's my about research background. So I really would like to welcome, it's online, so it's hard to see your, how you everyone's thinking and want to say. So I'm welcome everyone to put your questions and anything that you'd like to ask. I think we have a discussion afterwards, so really great to do that. So I'd like to talk about some disaster types. I just mention these days, some people say, oh, we're not gonna differentiate the type of disasters. Disaster is, disaster. So, it's not what is caused by. So some people say that. So I just want to mention, but conventionally, you have to separate the disasters because often that the national regulations they specify which type of disaster we're going to deploy the medical team, and I think more from the government administration, because regulation often associate with the classification the categories. So categories is in a way, it's necessary to talk about. So natural disasters or man-made, and these days I think often infection disease like C1, we call it chemical, biological, radiation, nuclear, explosive. So I think Indonesia is exploring the developing a nuclear reactor as well, so that some sort of classification, mitigation, what is the hazard is there, is quite important. We have to be aware what is existing hazard around us. So in a way, to use a categorization is, I think, basic mitigation is same, principle is the same. Even the man-made, for example, chemical, biological, radiation, somehow radiation, people may think it's different, but biological, how we use personal protection equipment, it's same as a radiological incident. We use a personal protection equipment, but maybe that depth of precaution or cautions might be need more care. Also, we cannot see them like particles or radiological particles, as well as infection viruses. We cannot see, so that PPE is quite important. So somehow that there is a type of disasters, and yes, I imagine everyone is very familiar what kind of disaster So recently, and as well as maybe in Java Island, what do you experience? And then also that the first video you shared is also association with climate change. That the coastal line is disappearing. We hear a lot of this similar experience from the Asian countries, Pacific Island, as well as that Southeast Asia, more South Asia as well. So I really think in the Asian country you have a similar climate associated disaster risk. That the more we are feeling that we have to do some mitigate, prepare for it. So sorry, I didn't put the global or Asian country that they stole, but this is something I share with the number of deaths over time in Japan. So I think similarly there is a spikes when we experience big disasters. We always spikes. For example, probably in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, 2004, we had a big tsunami earthquake. So it's really, I think, around here in Indonesia, it spikes up, I imagine. So for Japan, of course, the taking of statistics is a quite contemporary thing. So this is recorded since 1891. And the recent time is we had a big earthquake and the tsunami, so 2011, so that's a big spike here. And this blue line is when 1963, we had a Disaster Countermeasures Basic Act. So this is a big regulation saying who is responsibility to protect our land and the property. So before that, it wasn't clear. So it is more about the community, that self-defense, civil defense, Some communities has fire, what you call firefighters, volunteers. So historically we do that, and I'm pretty sure Indonesia people in the small community they have their own the community defense voluntary work groups. But the regulation as a country and as a country's effort responsibility. So this is act was regulated. So what triggers the setting the act is there was a huge typhoon around this time. So many people died, and a lot of properties, infrastructure was destroyed. So when you think about 1960s in Japan after the war, like 2 decades, is similarly Indonesia is your country is really growing now. That the infrastructure, urbanization is quickly, rapidly, that increased. So what in Japan, like 60s, 70s, something like that. So population growth was really, increasing, as well as the urbanization was really, developing. So middle of that, social situation, the disaster happened. So everyone, realized, oh, we are building the infrastructure, but if the disaster happens, what we are trying to build up is, destroyed. So, so that kind of, population, the community people, and also countryside, national side. So, okay, so we need some regulation to establish. So that was the first established. So because of this basic act, so the responsibility local government ultimately they have to take a lead to organize a system to do disaster risk reduction in the community. So it is quite important regulation to mention. And so when disaster happens, we talk about hazard, vulnerability, capacity, and this disaster risk in occurrence. So this is quite interesting as well as a very useful formula to think about. So I'm going to explain. I think everyone's maybe familiar with the term of hazard in public health and maybe safety management, crisis management. We talk a lot about the hazard. So this is something like that the cause of the disaster phenomenon. For example, uncontrolled, managed, not managed rivers. Also that the fault line. So because fault line itself under the earth doesn't do anything, but because fault line moves and falls, and the fault line flicks, that causes an earthquake. So that the hazard itself usually doesn't harm, but if some force or some event happens, hazard will be activated to amplify by vulnerability, and the occurrence of the disaster risk will be going up. So let's see only the top part. So what multiply hazard is a vulnerability. So can you think about the vulnerability in your community or society? So, so many different perspectives you can take, I think, depending on where you are, familiar with, or where your disciplinary is. So, I'm in the more interested in the people's behavior or how characteristic. So could be a vulnerability of our people. So when you see the people, some elderly people who are frail could be vulnerable, or people who are pregnant women could be vulnerable, and also children who are younger, or babies, or if you're looking at the more infrastructure building, it could be building which is not the coded, or maybe not the didn't follow the regulation, building regulation, could be a vulnerable building. So you can say so many vulnerability in the social situation. Of course, societal condition, if already conflict happened, war situation, war condition, political situation, unstable political situation could be one of the vulnerable situation too. So with hazard and these vulnerable situation, it really amplifies the disaster occurrence. But what is minimizing? So this is divided by capacity, so that make it more less occurrence of disaster risk is a capacity. So capacity could be similarly vulnerability could be people, or maybe structure, or infrastructure, or something tools. So you can think about many perspectives as well. So if you think capacity is looking for in the people, so could be a neighborhood bonding. So if you know neighborhood very well, and you know who is living next door, or even the community who need a support, who need a that help to evacuate to the evacuation center. So the community, that the neighborhood bonding is a quite contribution to the capacity. And also infrastructure, this is a vulnerability opposite way of thinking. If you put in the way more resilient building could be the capacity, or regular training with at the hospital as well as schools or community. So those kind of capacity can mitigate those occurrence of the disaster risk. So this is quite useful formula for me too. And this is some classification of the hazard. So you can see as I classify the groups, this is a natural, human-induced, man-made, any other environmental degradation. So this is what we saw in the first video, I think. Erosion, deforestation, and the sea level rise. So that is what's happening. And so the different hazard you can learn. So when you say natural, you can classify as a subgroups like a geophysical, hydrological, meteorological, climatological, biological, extraterrestrial. So all different hazard you can nominate here. And then human-induced technological, societal, so different type of technological, so air pollution, that urbanization association, maybe air pollution could be, and also the hazardous material, radiological. So you have to think about environmental health perspective too. So what you are producing, maybe factory, or if you're dealing with some material chemicals, so you have to be I guess that the management should be installed as well. Okay, so this is some hazard classification, and this is some that coming through from the that the more about paradigm. Paradigm is a way of thinking, that the kind of world. So we used to think in this way. So we used to think, for example, hazard is only single against a single hazard. So for example, we say geophysical hazard. So, case by case of way of thinking, but we're not gonna do anymore. Rather than single, why don't we do more all hazard inclusively or comprehensively? Think about, and also the event based. So event is more when disaster happened. So it's kind of it's too late. So once it happened, it's already happening. So rather we assess the risk, and based on the risk, we take a more action. So proactively risk-based and all hazard. So another thing is a more hazard focus. What was a hazard there? But rather than, I think, vulnerability and capacity focus, by doing so, more people, in the community focus, as well as we can focus on the more building or, installment focus. And these days, we cannot do only a single agency rather than more whole of society. So we are, connecting each other. So all different stakeholders, we have to put hands together and we work together. And similarly, so separate responsibility, more shared responsibility of a health system. So it's really hard to separate, because interrelated relationship. So for example, taking the first video example, so the fishing community, erosion of the sea line. So fishing, those community cannot have a income, and that the consequences, if there's no income, how those communities sustain? They cannot buy food or cannot send the children to school. So all that those disaster is impacting the whole community, society. So that I think on the other way around, we have to work together to mitigate the disaster risks as well. So planning for community, rather than we do together, so planning with community, we work together. Okay. And I'd like to touch on this is a Sendai framework, which is, I showed, the first, the introductory. So it was quite huge World Disaster Risk Reduction Conference. So from the ministerial roundtable to the civil society involvement. So all levels of society effort to do this action, so that the Sendai Disaster Risk Reduction Framework is along with SDGs. So showing the within Sendai framework what sort of goals they establish. So A to Z, they have a different goals to be counted here. So of course we want to reduce the number of deaths, and then reduce the affected persons, and then yes, very importantly, economic loss that you want to minimize, and also associate with infrastructure loss. And number of countries adopted the DRO strategies. So as a country, how they take actions or plan to reduce the disaster risk reduction. And also we are trying to international cooperation to develop countries through adequate sustainable support. So I think that over the countries, cooperation is very important as well. And last one is also a number of countries having a multi-hazard early warning system access to DRR. So this is quite important, I think. For example, earthquake, early warning, especially for the tsunami, because earthquake can feel, and then people realize, earthquake, there might be a tsunami risk, so take more action quickly. And then also the using a device, because sometimes tsunamis really amplifies coming along from the even you're not feeling where you are. It often comes to involving the amplifies the tsunami height, so that the early warning system is quite instrument to the community level, local level, national level is quite important too. Okay, so this is some disaster cycle. So I think it's really great to know, different classification of disaster, what sort of hazard is there. Also disaster, because this is a very much management view, because if you involve in management and also more educational, public education, this is quite important. So we start from here, silent phase, and preparedness phase, prevention. So there will be a warning phase, depend on the hazard. So some hazard is more easy, like for example, cyclone, typhoon, you can see the meteorological forecast. And also earthquake, yes, sometimes earthquake can do, for example, in Japan we say there is a real earthquake coming. Before real earthquake, there is a pre-earthquake, small one, and we think might be a big one coming. So I think in last 2 months ago, beginning of August, we had a small one couple of times. So the national government and the prediction, that they are cabinet department saying, we might have a very big one soon. So how many weeks? I think a couple of weeks they issued the special warning to be watch out, for the public, all over Japan. And then in the end, they lifted those special warning. But I think everyone was quite cautious, because we are always being told or predicting huge ones coming in the next 30 years. So, we are ready kind of whenever, big earthquake coming next within the 30 years. So it's kind of a little bit tense for the people. And there's a warning phase. And after, this red sign is a disaster so happened. So, for example, earthquake or maybe cyclone hit. So after that, disaster came, 3 days, usually 72 hours, is we say super acute phase. So people are expected to, survive by yourself in 3 days. And within the 1 week, we are going to the acute phase, subacute phase, 1 month, and the recovery and rehabilitation. Usually 1 month to 3 years, but the rehabilitation is, depending on the area and then how much that the disaster was severely affected. So could be that longer than 3 years. So this is something can have some information. And depending on this is a phase, we can differentiate relief and disaster medicine public associated with public health as well. How we can do activity as well. So in the super acute phase, 72 hours, for the relief side, outside of the affected area, it's very hard to deploy. That's why we say self-help and neighborhood support is very important. So you have to survive yourself and help your neighborhood. So in the 3 days, 72 hours, disaster, that the medicine relief team or any other, maybe could be outside of the affected domestically, that relief team might came or internationally may came. So acute phase, we do more, triage. So we look for their first, rescue and save. So looking for the people who are survived, and we have to immediately triage them and transfer to have treatment. And also for the relief team, similarly, damage assessment for the infrastructure relief. They made the household damage assessment, and also shelter is shelter evacuation centers established. And the post-acute phase, for the disaster medicine, more medicine care side, mental health is very important, and the chronic health management, and also public health infection prevention is very important too. So post-acute phase, this is more about establishing, that or recovering the daily activity, so daily life. So with the volunteer support, you might want to establish, temporary housing and collaboration with the government, relief or some another resource, NGO, NPO, using their resource to look for establish the temporary living space. So this support, the effort will continue. And for the important perspective from the policy development, I think in looking back what we could do, what happened to go through the report, and also the input for the, we call build back better. So disaster happens again. So to prepare better, I think reflecting what could be done better is it's quite important to discuss. Okay. So this is showing the different damage of the health damage. So depending on the earthquake, people are more die under the buildings, or trauma, is a more significant health damage. But this is the disaster 2011 earthquake and tsunami and nuclear plant explosion. So people were quite drawn due to the tsunami. So people die because of the earthquake under the building, but it's more about drowning. So different medical assistance could be done. And another mention about after the disaster important thing is, disaster directly, people die due to under the corruption of the building or tsunami. But more importantly, people can die after relocation. So this is showing, peak came around 1 month, between more than 1 week to 1 month. So this is what is, showing is a secondary damage to, affected people can be increased, could be more than that directly die. So that, for example, relocation, if there are vulnerable people who need a more chronic disease management, medication is not there, or maybe treatment cannot have, especially hemodialysis, or maybe if you have a treatment like a cancer treatment, or if you have a ventilation, respiratory disease, it would be a risk for the secondary damage for them. So we need to think about continuity of care after the disaster. And then to mitigate and to prevent respond, in Japan, what sort of responses has been done? We have a very much different type of disaster relief system, but I'd like to mention some of the major theme. So in Japan, we have a disaster-based hospital. So in a relatively larger hospital, usually tertiary hospital, which accommodate daily basis 724 acute emergency service provided, they can be a disaster-based hospital, because we cannot do what we're not doing non-disaster time. So if you to be accredited for the base hospital, you have to have this 724 patient emergency service, and also some hospital resilient evaluation needed. So where the hospital is free of hazard, tsunami not gonna wash away, or landslide that the hospital doesn't under the soil, or not on the fault line. That kind of evaluation needed to be recognized, because base hospital is meant to be when a disaster happens, patient come, transfer, or maybe they're gonna walk to the hospital to say help us. So hospital staff have to be trained to be able to triage those surge capacity of the patient, as well as they would have some transport, for example, a helicopter, helipad on the hospital, so that in the case of road is closed, or road logistics collapse, they can airlift it to the other place. So all those the prepare conditions. And another thing is the 3 days of water, food, and also the care and treatment kind of tools are stored. So these disaster-based hospital need to be have some capacity to survive as a hospital for 3 days at least. Another system we have is for nurses. We have a volunteer disaster relief nurse as a community response. So I'll show you some triage system. So just let me go through. Yes, so let me explain this system first. This is for the nurses. So for example, we have a nursing association in Japan. So they have levels, so national level and province level. So they, they collaborate each other, different level of administration. So depending on the size of the disaster, so for example, Hiroshima prefecture, we need more support from the national government. So they say, that affected area to the national level, so communicate. And then this is a national level nursing association. So they communicate with non-affected association, and they ask to deploy to the affected area. So always kind of a backup system. So networking between the different area is quite important. I think not only nursing, but also the volunteer as well. So that's what I'd like to mention. And some triage system. So I guess if you are a nurse working at a hospital, larger hospital, especially tertiary, secondary hospital, you're familiar with primary triage. So you are going to tag, triage people who is the most need of the treatment cure. That is the first, primary triage. But the secondary triage can be done in a community effort. So in Japan, what we are trying to do, especially in the hazard area of the province, we educate the community people to the triage who need a really support and care. Okay, so I think time is a little bit constrained. So just I want to mention about the community volunteers, because I mentioned about the secondary triage. So I think this is something more becoming more public, raising public awareness by training more volunteers in community. So we train the community people to say, three helps: self-help, public help, mutual help. So these are the main helps to responsible for the community. So we call the bosaishi in the community people, so that everyone can become a bosaishi. Young people these days become a bosaishi. So these are the, especially bosai means disaster risk reduction. So they are trained as a mitigate the disaster risk in the community, and then they can do more proactively setting up evacuation. We do a drills, so they can learn the drill and talk with the community people to participate. And then also they do respond when the disaster situation. So they open the evacuation centers with a collaboration with the schools, and they even manage the evacuation center and the support to recovery of the community. So there will be outside of volunteers come to your area, affected area. They can do a collaboration, and also they can do a volunteer if there's another affected area. They can deploy it. They can participate. That's the relief too. So something like that. So image is who can be both IC disaster risk community volunteer. Of course, nurses and people who are accountant, of course, medical doctors and business owners and teachers, everyone who wants to be help, who wants to help the community is becoming the volunteers. So I think that vulnerability. I think that once you volunteer, you have to think about where is the vulnerability could be. So I think it's really good because those volunteers can have a good background where their knowledge come from. So if they are good at maybe teachers, maybe they can think about school, or maybe if you are infrastructure, that involved occupation, you might want to think about housing, or yes, so depending on the strengths of your volunteers skill, you can associate with the skill that you want to contribute to the community too. So I think I'm gonna skip this because of time is not sorry. And towards the end, so this is more that I think core of the more this lecture. So designing health education disaster preparedness, I think everyone, if you are involved, participate that promoting, that health education, I think, utilize those phase is quite important. So first thing is utilizing disaster risk reduction management phase. So if you want to mitigate something like those who are volunteers I explained in the previously, you can involved in that way. So maybe talk about the hazard map, or how do you go to the evacuation center? How do you run the evacuation center? You can do that. So all different ways you can involved in the different topic of education skill. And assessing the community awareness and the needs. So if you want to do a health education preparedness, how much is your community know about the risk, the disaster risk, and how much they need? I think obviously this is important, so that their learning need, and we can provide based on their needs. The utilizing existing network and activities, I think this is another way to do. I'm pretty sure in Indonesia, community is quite, that connecting each other, so that utilize the network and Red Cross or maybe some religious network. I think quite important to utilize them too. And also how you want to, who will be a leader kind of approach, I think you can think about. One is a community involvement. You can do bottom up, we do together, first approach shift. I show you the, plan to part the community rather than plan with community. You can do that. But sometimes I think two communities are important to provide, and also that with community is important too. So bottom up empowerment approach, with them is quite important. And please have, I think, a continuity and then PDCA. So this is make it, if you do an education, why don't you do you plan and then implement and evaluate, and what you did well, and then what you didn't well, or you can talk with community and then do plan together. I think quite important. So so this is towards the end. I think I'm going to share the, I think pretty sure that the slide will be shared, so please read this. And all health professional promotion can be done anywhere. So this is showing the wherever you can do that. And summary, the end of the talk. I think important thing is knowing the disaster phase as well as the community needs. When you talk with the community, what they need and what is a readiness, and then what is a learning need, I think you can assess. So assessing method, that that surveys or interviews, all sorts of or online survey, you can do that. So you implement. And then I think that another way is utilizing volunteers, also important resource, because always human resource shortage happens in a disaster situation. So as many as people know about disaster mitigation, risk reduction, to be proactive is very important. And then lastly, I think health professionals in public health has a role to lead and work with the community as well. Okay, I think that's the end. Yes. So thank you so much for listening. A little bit rushed through, so sorry that I skipped, but I think slide will be shared and I put the link. So if you'd like to know more, we can discuss the questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mayumi Kako, for the very interesting material today. So we already have two questions here. The first question is from Mr. Ahmad Farid from the Doctor of Public Health, Faculty of Public Health. My question is, what are some real examples of the role of nurses in disaster response that have occurred?
Okay, thank you. So I can say many roles. So nurses, I can go through their respond, which is when the disaster happens. So nurses are part of the medical deployment team. So usually, I think in Indonesia, I'm pretty sure you have a disaster deployment team. So in Japan, we usually have five members. So two of them are medical doctors, or either one or two is a medical doctor, and two or three nurses, and then another one is logistics. So usually, pharmacists can be a logistic, or a medical administrator can be logistic too. So that's the response in the acute phase. As well as nurses work at the evacuation center. So we talk with the evacuees who need medical attention. So we talk about primary triage and the secondary triage. So secondary triage is usually done at the evacuation center where the not really sick people are there, but just preventionally, maybe someone who are diabetes and then they don't have any medication and they're feeling a little bit need attention, medical attention. So we can do the triage for them. So that's the another you can work, or maybe like I did, knocking on the temporary housing to ask the evacuated people, how are you and how's going. So different phase nurses can do, and then because nurses work everywhere and the different phase, right? Like there's emergency nurse, community nurse, so they can use their different skill set to maximize their skill in the situation. I think. I hope I answered. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the nurses not only doing the medical thing, but they also do the preventive and promotive
Yes, of
aspect as
course.
well. Wow.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes, and then you can
Okay,
do
that's
that.
amazing.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Ahmad Farid, do you have any feedback? Oh, wait. Sorry, you are still unmute. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Enough. So clear and that
Okay.
one.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is from Ibu Aditya Kusumawati. Dr. Kako, I would like to know how you conduct community involvement, such as identifying a key person, explaining their roles, and etc. Please explain the step in more detail, and if it doesn't work effectively, what will the team do then, since everything should be decided in the critical time? Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. So, critical time you cannot do. So start with the, now I think non-disaster time is very important. So how I utilize the resource in community is I have that contact of disaster risk. These are the volunteer people in community, so they are not necessarily nurses, health professionals. So every year I have a seminar with them. So last 5 years we call them, let's do some community, meet kind of, seminar. So we invite someone and then discuss one theme. So for example, those volunteers, I think a lot of males, gentlemen, they become, because the community laws, maybe this is a Japanese, community. It's changing, but still traditional, more how they say, regional area. A lot of men lead this disaster reduction roles, so that, for example, how we can involve the women to more activate. We can do work together. So we set up the theme. So we talk about. So this is a more volunteer based disaster risk reduction officers. So because they have, I'm involved as a nurse, but they are more volunteer based. They usually join the network association. So I asked them, why don't you bring your friends to talk each other? So different, occupations can talk each other in the same, I guess, purpose. So because what we talk is quite similar. So that's the way. And if it doesn't work, I think when, often work together, or maybe, good to find a person who are very active, want to talk with you or want to do with something together with you. Usually there's a community, that kind of key person exists. So finding out this person is quite important, I think. And probably, involvement from this side, university side, have a multiple. And as a group, maybe you can, we say, connecting dot to dot to make it more, a lot of stars. So I think a gradual effort is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question. I actually wonder if does Japan have many, many traditions like in Indonesia? And because in Indonesia, since we have many traditions and we have so diverse characteristics for the community, so we have to do many strategies to face the community from each types during the disaster.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, in Japan, I think changing. We are becoming more multicultural community. So, people living, in not Japanese, language is not their, that the language. So, culturally diverse, and then, gender diverse, and all, kind of diversity. And I think it's important to, this year we had a language, diversity, like who are not the, we ask participate, Japanese is not your, the language in here. So we had a not great number, but we had some people came and talk about different strategy. But I think, that more about knowing each other, and then recognition of who is there is something we have to know. Like for me and for the participant, didn't know so many that non-Japanese speaking people in Hiroshima city as well. So that is another way. And of course, government trying to use a different, in a language way. And also, if there is a small community, like within the community of volleyball community, I think that there might be some good idea to network, to connecting each other in a way, different small communities. For example, I'm not sure in Japan, maybe that, for example, Filipino Association, Indonesia Association, Korean Association, there's a different cultural background community. So something like those cultural background community tied together, maybe some third party would be nice, which we have a what do you call NGO called the Multiculturalism Association. There is a one. So those kind of a hub is very important, I think.
Yes, okay. I think the next question is still related. From Miss Sabrina Arifia Kotranada. In Indonesia, with its cultural diversity and varying education levels, traditional approaches like evacuation drills or seminars are still uncommon and not accessible to everyone. Based on your experience in designing health campaign for disaster preparedness, what strategies would you recommend to effectively reach and engage communities, especially those who may not have access to formal training sessions?
Yes, that's a difficult thing, isn't it? So I think, you mean the access to the training, evacuation training, right? So another way is, utilizing, for example, people, gathering place. If there is a community market in a community, people go to the, because going shopping is quite in everyday life, or maybe medical community center, medical, what do you call, primary care center in, or what can I think, or any, religious, what do you call, prayer room, or if there's any common place to get people go there. I think that's something you can utilize rather than people not coming to the disaster risk reduction, but the other purpose they are coming, shopping or having a tea or different purpose. You can combine together to the campaign, and that notify them if you have something activity there. I think that's a quite good opportunity. And then we see a lot of for example, you have I think in November there's a community, what do you call, disaster risk reduction awareness day, I think. So maybe utilize those days to say, today is something like day, so you can make some I don't know, pamphlet or leaflet to share with them, and then just notify them. And then initially, if you really having some drill or some, I don't know, for example, evacuation center setting, some mock training, you can introduce them, and or you can use we are looking for the recruiting the people who are interested in to create the group, volunteer group. So you can start from the scratch to involve them, and then you can make different groupings from the different location too. Being creative, you can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm wondering, since Japan has experienced like earthquake for quite frequently, how do you and the community being aware, like which one is the dangerous one or which one is still okay and something like that?
Yeah. So we have a really good early warning system. So if you have a mobile phone, it's really good. I can share the experience. Beginning of August, I think 7th or 8th of August in the morning, we had a class with international students, and everyone's mobile phone, everyone just surprised. Oh, what's this? What's this? And it was an earthquake warning. So usually after that, warning system activate, maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds, it's really earthquake happened. So it was a magnitude 4. So relatively, you can feel. So some students never had an earthquake experience, so they are scared and they kind of, oh, teacher, should I go outside the building, or should I stay, or what to do, So you have to tell them, oh, don't worry, you will, go away and then just make yourself, secure. And the building was, they have anti-seismic, so it's sliding, so quite safe. But I think if this is a really big one, we really have to think about, that what to do. And usually, publicly, people has phone, and they are notified, and depend, that we always tell them we have to put the furniture, that the fixed furniture on the wall, or they please don't put the high stuff around your bed, so that the warning, and we will say, but actually, if really severe earthquake happened, I don't know how many people really adhere that those cautions. So we quite spoiled with the mobile phone, I think.
The system is very supportive.
Yeah, supportive, yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next question from Mr. Siswanto. Dr. Kako, in Indonesia, floods and landslides occur, some of which are the result of mining operations. How is early detection to prevent greater damage? Because the environmental service and local government that act as supervisors are less involved and do not have access, equipment, tools, and knowledge to supervise properly.
Yeah, that's a really, the difficult situation, I think. And in the worldwide, I think if you see it's kind of, mining in USA as well, there's a huge landslide. But there was another, some, that I thought mining or they trying to develop the land so that the kind of environmental disaster, I would say. So in that case, I think, that community has to, that be aware what is going to happen, as well as I think, in a way, occupational health is quite, that a little bit worried about. So if there is, some accident or incident happened, that mine workers will be trapped, and that's kind of a dangerous situation. So I guess in a way that the company has to be educate, I guess, have to be manage those working conditions as well, in my opinion. And for the community, I think have to be aware of the hazard what's happening, and community may be responsible, that if there's no regulations, maybe opportunity to talk to a community leader, and then maybe company manager side, that could be done as well. If you are interested in, I guess it's kind of campaigning to difficult, challenging situation, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any feedback from Mr. Siswanto? Not yet? Okay, so going on to the next question from Ms. Sudarwati Nababan. Thank you for the explanation, Dr. Mayumi Kako. Please share your experience on how Japan integrates disaster preparedness into the school curriculum. How to design health education for early childhood from 3 to 4 years old.
Yes, very good. Actually, it has been very good in Japan. So we have a policy. So I think nearly I don't have a statistics, but I think nearly all of the school child care 3 to 5 implement in some level of for example drills. So particularly we use a little bit how do you say playful, for the little bit fun for the children. So for example, use a lot of what do you call abbreviation. So, for example, we say ohashimo is in Japanese. So teacher says, in the case of disasters or fire, we use ohashimo, So O for, not talking, and ha is not running, and she means kind of I forgot, taking a lower posture, so not really standing. And more is don't take anything. So children immediately associate with O means her, she, more. So similarly, they learn in that way. And once a year, usually they do drills for the disasters and fires. And another thing is, those kind of strangers, sometimes, their children are attacked by someone who the strangers coming into the kindy. So they do those safety training as well. So children usually very simple word and simple action, and then that's it. No booklet, and then use a lot of illustration. Yes, it works. And then maybe use children favorite character doing stuff, so they may follow. So it's a bit more visualization, and the simplification is very important. Yeah.
Does it train for, I don't know, once a month or once a year for the ohashimo?
Ohashimo is once a year, I think. Yeah. So they don't want to do every month. Maybe there's some place, maybe summer and winter time, maybe could be twice a year if they are more hazard area. So winter is different hazard, if summer is different hazard. They may do that. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any feedback from Ms. Sudarwati Nababan? Oh, thank you. Okay, she said thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question is from Mr. Lucas Tersono Adi. Many thanks for the explanation, Dr. Mayumi Kako. Can you explain the process that must be carried out during grassroots empowerment in providing solutions to disasters that can occur at any time?
Yes, I think empowerment. So I think in the daily time, meeting or knowing the counterpart is very important. And even probably you're not gonna plan, implement anything. Just daily conversation. How are you and how's it going? And the kind of conversation is important. And always I think the doing together, I think, is quite important. Like and often or sometimes you have to see this community can be independent, but you kind of observe, and if this community can independently do, it's okay, but you're not gonna walk away, you'll be there. I think that kind of attitude is quite important. Like we will be there for you, and then please let us know when you need us. That is a kind of give empowerment, and so that you always know you are there, and then we know your needs, when it is needed. So yeah, that's I think, for me, we can put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any feedback, Mr. Lucas? Not yet? Okay. Prof. Zahro said, Dr. Mayumi, many thanks. Very nice presentation. I apologize to not join until the end as I have class at 10:30.
Thank you so much. I'm appreciate all the questions, and then your willingness to do the involvement of community. I think which is a great things to do, and I think I'd like to wish the all best to you on the success.
I mean, thank you. Okay, one more question from Ms. Lintang Kemuning. Hello, Dr. Kako. Elderly group here tends to be adamant to stay where they live and often refuse to be moved, even though their residence is very vulnerable to being affected by the disasters. Does there any elderly group in Japan that have the same condition?
Yes,
If there
yes,
is,
yes,
how does
yes.
Japanese people handle this kind of situation? And what is your suggestion?
Yes, that's very hard because usually elderly people really attached with the land and they don't want to leave, and because they say that my ancestors protecting this that land, so it's very understandable. I think so, and but I can give you one kind of example which happened in the north part of Japan. Yeah, from here. So we had an earthquake in the 1st of January. So the area was very regional. So 50% of our residents is more than 65 years old. So you imagine nearly everyone you see in the town is elderly, and they had an earthquake, and after that they cannot sustain, recover. So even that the area was so isolated, so that the builders cannot approach, and because when you build a houses, you need the builders accommodation. So there is no accommodation for the workers. So I think in the end, the community, local government thinking about, community relocation, so that because they cannot, that sustain, so that, and I think, come to that conclusion. I imagine that those community elderly people talk to each other, and they kind of compromise. I think this is our land and ancestors' land, but we cannot live here because of no house and nobody around here. So that I think they are kind of deciding to relocate together in the somewhere more hazardous area too.
Okay.
Very difficult.
Because it happens a lot in Indonesia, and at last they died because of they got impacted by the disaster because they do not want to move from their house. Yes. Yes. Okay. Is there any other questions from the audiences? You can raise your hand and unmute, or you can also type it in the chat box. Dr. Mayumi, when Japan facing disasters, what kind of collaboration, and I mean, with which organizations that collaboration must be done during the disasters?
Yes, first, I think government first, that the local government, they are kind of giving kind of, I don't want to say, but it's order, and also that the medical team is, I think, where the peak body of medical team. Like we usually have a coordination role in the office. So, for example, disaster medical team, they have office, and also the nursing association, they have office for the coordination. So wherever that their role is coming, taking a role of the coordination, they have to be realized or activated of the situation. So there might be something we have to take action. So there is some switch button to be activated. So where who you are, what is your responsibility, and you have to really switch the button to ordinary regular mode to become a disaster mode. I think that's
so everyone has already has their own role, so they.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so clear role within the organization, and depending on in the community, yes, usually people who are disaster risk reduction officer volunteer, when the raining is predicted and then warning is issued, they have a protocol to be ready for open up the evacuation center. So once they get the report from the local government to say, please open the evacuation center, they will do, or even they do it proactively to be ready.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? You can raise your hand. Oh, we have one question from Ms. Eka Rosanti. Many thanks, Dr. Kako, of your information. I want to know how about the implementation of comprehensive school safety framework policy in Japan, because in Indonesia, this policy has not been implemented, I think. There are some obstacles like financial, human resource competence, lack of supervision from the governments as well.
Okay. So safety framework policy. Yes, I think I'm not sure which level you're talking about. In Japan, it's already, that because we had a 2011 earthquake, so that was really learning for the schools, and it's really made a difference from school to school. We visited the schools who were all school children evacuated safely from the tsunami because of the teacher's decision was really great. And other schools, some kids died. So it's really make a difference how they are making a decision. So that experience made the whole, that the nationally, they school Ministry of Education that say that please implement that drills and protocols in each school. So I think I guess Indonesia. So which level? If you have a national level or implementation, so provincial, and it comes down to the local. So I guess maybe collaboration can be done in the community. If there's a community leaders who want to do some what do you call that, more prevention work to lead their school or community. I think yes, ultimately government support is needed, but another way is utilizing community power to protect, because often schools are center of a community. Kids, your kids going to school, and through their school activities parents and families are involved as well. So maybe that can be done one way, if the shortage of finance, or maybe establish the volunteer group to do some involving the schools as well, school activity as well. So if there's any other activity doing the school volunteers, because often the school has volunteers to read or to, I don't know, for the elderly people in Japan to do volunteer work with kids. So maybe we can utilize a resource, something like that. Maybe some idea.
Okay, any feedback from Ms. Eka Rosanti? Not yet? Okay. Dr. Kako, I would like also to ask about the sustainability, since we can face many kinds of disaster, natural and non-natural disasters, and we can design any kinds of health education campaigns for the disaster preparedness as well. But what kind of strategies that we can do to make the sustainability for the health education system itself?
I think that's important. I think sustainability is also like a continuity as well. So I think to do that, of course, we need money, but I think manpower is another thing. So it's like a human resource, volunteers, and I'm not sure, like in Indonesia, a lot of yes, some volunteer network, Red Cross, that association to expand their capacity so that the volunteer can be, utilized. So because another thing is coordination of the volunteers. So is very important. Usually, when disaster happens, coordination of volunteer, who before that we need to know what is the need from the community. So in this community, 50 household is destroyed. So we need 20 people of volunteer. We need something like that. So someone who coordinates this need is also. Another thing is, yes, train the trainers. So usually what happens, we educate students and the student can share with student. So that kind of, how do you say, ripple effect. Like once you throw the stone, ripple occurs and the next. That kind of, that influence or affect is quite important. So once you teach, that train volunteer can train another volunteer. That kind of, that system is another way to sustain, I think.
Training for trainers.
Yeah, that's right. That's the word. Yes.
Training. Yeah, okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mayumi Kako. Any other questions, please, from the audience? And I also would like to remind you to please fill in the presents link that we have already shared in the chat box. Okay, if there's no more question, would you please have your closing statement, Dr. Mayumi?
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for your participation and your, that curiosity to ask a lot of questions, and it's very nice to see you are involved as well. And everyone, I think, taking this course is a public health, that the past, course, so that you working in a different area of, that public health. Of course, you going to work face to face in the people community, as well as a lot of management, different area too. So, but I think in relation to disaster, I think important thing is which phase you are going to work. And similarly, I think public health, you do in the prevention to, that respond to and activate, intervention to evaluation. Similarly, I think that the protocol works. So, and then also please be looking around where you are living. And I know you are very much community people, I imagine. So knowing the community hazard, and then start from the small things, another thing you can involve. And then if there's already happening something, you can involve in the activity too, so that you can learn together. So I hope your study and your project or whatever you are involved, wish you all the success and all the best. And thank you so much for inviting me to have this talk. And thank you for organizers and directors and faculties. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mayumi Kako. Since you have explaining very interesting topics for today, on behalf of the Faculty of Public Health Universitas Diponegoro, I would like to say thank you very much for Dr. Mayumi Kako and for this amazing session. And also thank you to all of today's participants. We apologize for any mistakes and any imperfections during this event. We hope that this event will have a positive impact to all of us, especially in health promotion. It has been my pleasure to be the host for today's event. We look forward to seeing you all for the next event. I wish you all have a pleasant day. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Dr. Wendy.
The main goal of the Faculty of Public Health is to enhance society health not limited to a certain age group. To achieve the purpose of society's awareness on health and having healthy behavior, the Faculty of Public Health Diponegoro University focuses on high-quality alumni on public health.
Our vision is to become an excellent higher education institution in the field of public health in the international level.
Our purposes are to produce graduates who have the spirit of Pancasila, competent and have social awareness, complete and miracle. To produce innovative research, publication in reputable national and international journals, attainment in intellectual property right, contribution in solving public health problems, to organize transparent and accountable public health higher education, organizing cooperation and partnership in the field of three pillars of higher education.
We always support the improvement of the education quality process by enriching knowledge through visiting professors from top international universities, general lectures from many reputable universities, international conference with varied speakers, summer course, joint researchers, student achievement, and so on.
We have international programs since 2016 in order to support Diponegoro University to be world-class university or WCU. The programs are 4-degree program and non-degree programs such as International Class, International Conference of Public Health, Tropical and Coastal Development or ICO-PH-TCD, and Summer Course. We are committed to improve the quality of the education process by enriching knowledge through visiting professors from top international universities, general lectures from many reputable universities, international conference with varied speakers, and summer courses. We also focus on development of science and discovery of new findings through research from upstream to downstream, joint research with many reputable universities and international NGOs, international and national publication, including joint publication with professors and lecturers from international universities. Our research also resulted to some invention that registered to the patent and intellectual property right.
This is my first visit, and I hope it'll be the first of many, and I hope that some of your students will perhaps come and join us to study at postgraduate level in Dundee in the near future.
Community service is also one of our main concerns. We are committed to always contributing to solving public health problems at the local and national levels through networking, community empowerment, and many more. And furthermore, we also publish the result in some accredited journal of community services.
We are committed to improve the quality of the health human resources and communities' quality of life through public health high-quality education at any level.
Therefore, we have high-quality lectures and academic staffs. As per today, we have 7 professors, lecturers graduated from top global universities and top national universities as well. To support the lecturing activities, we provide the laboratories with sufficient tools and equipment. To support the lecturing activities, we provide the laboratories with sufficient tools and equipment. We train our lecturers and academic staff to improve our quality according to the technology development. We also have joint research and publication with national and international institutions such as NTU, ANU, UMS, UKM, Mahidol University, WSO, UNICEF, UNAIDS, and many more. We also facilitate non-academic activities for students and all academic staff such as basketball field, volleyball field, bicycles. Also facilitate academic activities such as library, online library, discussion rooms, and journal room. We also support student achievements and accomplishment in local, national, and international competition.
At Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, I was lucky enough to be an inbound student at UNDIP.
I very appreciate the UNDIP Faculty of Public Health team.
I really appreciate my time here, and I just want to thank UNDIP and all the faculty for such a memorable practicum experience, and I hope to be back in the future.
By purchasing high-quality public health alumni, it will certainly provide the widest possible benefits to society in general. In this way, our main goal, which is increasing the society's quality of life, can be achieved optimally.